Have you ever thought about why some people only show up when they need something from you? They seem to be careless about taking but never giving. The world isn't as perfect as we think it is, and people often put on a sophisticated front to get away with things, get benefits for yourself. No matter how kind or generous you are, there will always be people who take advantage of you. Some of these people are obvious about it, but others are more sneaky and make you not even realize they are taking advantage of you. Today we'll look at 10 signs that someone is only using you and doesn't care about you. It's important to note that this is not a time for criticism or judgment. Instead, it's a time to learn more about human nature and how to handle tough situations with strength and calm. Let's find out how to spot these people's red flags, set clear limits, and build a strong character to handle life's challenges. Before we start, I urge you to watch this whole video because everything in it is very important and will have a big effect on you. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, let's talk about the first attitude. Number 1, the persistent lack of respect. When it comes to relationships, lack of respect isn't just one action. It's a pattern of actions that show a cold and indifferent attitude. A true friend or loyal companion always acts with respect, showing consideration and shared responsibility all the time. People who take advantage of you, on the other hand, often don't care about these basic rules. When you look more closely, this attitude forms a pattern of behavior that shows selfishness and lack of consideration. They often criticize you unfairly, no matter how hard you try. They put down your efforts, sometimes even making fun of or humiliating you in front of other people. Imagine having your plans suddenly cancelled or others always being late. It seems like they expect you to accommodate their needs and preferences, these behaviors. You might start to question your skills and self-worth if you feel unappreciated and unimportant. This can make you feel hopeless, lose your way, and even depressed. But it's important to remember that flaws are part of being human. The difference between someone taking advantage of you and other people is that the abuser keeps doing it over time and doesn't try to stop. Life is always changing, and a lot of people feel stuck in a never-ending cycle of trying to please others and find acceptance, only to be rejected and ignored. The important thing is to realize that you deserve respect and care, and you shouldn't put up with any less. Your life is like a journey on a ship, and you are the captain. Find out what you're really worth, and then rebuild your confidence from that understanding. The ongoing lack of respect is a problem that can show up in many areas of life, such as personal relationships, jobs, communities, and interactions with other people. When people and groups don't respect each other, it can lead to many bad things, like fights, confusion, mistrust, and lower well-being for everyone involved. Here are some possible reasons for and effects of not respecting someone for a long time. Communication breakdown. Respect is necessary for talking to each other well. Communication breaks down when people don't respect each other, which can lead to mistakes, fights, and anger. Tensions rising. If people don't respect each other, disagreements are more likely to get worse because people may act defensively or aggressively instead of trying to find a solution or compromise. Low morale. People may feel down, ignored, or undervalued when they don't feel respected at work, which makes them less motivated and less productive. Loss of trust. Respect is a must for building and keeping trust between people and within groups. When people don't respect each other, trust can weaken, which makes it hard to work together and reach shared goals. Negative effect on mental health. Being disrespected over and over again can be bad for your mental health, making you more likely to experience worry, anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. Strengthening power differences. When people don't respect each other, power differences can get worse, with people in power or advantage controlling others without caring about their worth or freedom. Getting rid of a persistent lack of respect takes a multifaceted approach that includes raising awareness, building empathy, making rules for behavior clear, and creating a culture of respect and acceptance. This could mean putting in place training programs, rules of behavior, helping people work out their differences, and holding people responsible for their actions. Ultimately, creating a culture of respect needs constant work and dedication from everyone in a group or community. Number 2, not keeping your promises. Promises are a strong way to commit to and keep a good relationship going, but they are also easy to break. People who want to take advantage of you will often lie to you and put someone or something else ahead of you. Think of your relationship as a play where words are the main character and actions are just forgotten lines. People who break promises are often perfect for the daily drama because they seem caring and promise to be your friend and support in every situation. However, the truth is that they may promise to help you with a project, be there for you in a tough time, or just spend time talking and sharing. But when it comes to action and keeping their word, they often become vague, like actors who can't do their jobs well. It separates people who see relationships as two-way streets of respect and support from people who only see relationships as a way to get what they want from them for themselves. When things go wrong, they often teach us hard but important lessons. When this happens, we need to learn how to recognize and set boundaries in relationships. This will not only help us avoid being used, but it will also boost our self-esteem and give us more freedom in our relationships. Sometimes it's best to say no or stay away from people who only want to use us without giving us anything in return. Seeing unhealthy relationships early on and leaving them behind not only keeps us safe, but also frees us up to spend time and energy on healthier, more meaningful relationships. Remember that your worth doesn't depend on what other people do for you, but on what you know about yourself and do for yourself. Promises are more than just words. They're promises we make to other people that build trust and dependability. Promises broken, on the other hand, can have serious effects on relationships, image, and self-esteem. This lesson will talk about how important it is to keep your promises and what happens when you don't. How to understand promises. Explain that a promise is an agreement or guarantee that you will do something. Talk about what promises mean in different areas of life, like personal relationships, work, and interacting with other people. Stress how important promises are for building trust and keeping relationships healthy. Why people break promises. Look into common reasons why people break their promises, like forgetting, not being sincere, or things happening outside of their control. Talk about what might happen if you take on too much and feel the need to please other people. Stress how important it is to be honest and practical when you make promises. Changes in relationships. Look at how breaking vows can hurt relationships and trust. Talk about the negative emotions that both sides experienced, such as betrayal, sadness, and anger. Give some examples of how broken promises can cause problems and confusion in both personal and business settings. Gaining trust. Again, look into ways to rebuild trust after breaking a promise, like saying sorry in a real way, taking responsibility, and showing that you can be trusted over time. Talk about how important it is to communicate and be honest in order to regain trust. Stress how important regularity and following through are for staying trustworthy. Think about yourself. Tell your kids to think about the times they made and kept promises in their own lives. Get them to talk about how broken promises have affected their own lives and relationships. Help your kids figure out what they need to work on and how to set reasonable goals for themselves and others. It's not just a matter of being honest to keep your promises. It's also important for keeping relationships healthy and building trust in all areas of life. We can build better relationships and make society more trustworthy if everyone knows what happens when promises are broken and commits to being honest, dependable, and responsible. Number 3. Competition all the time. We're all very familiar with the game of chess, where each move is carefully calculated, not only to improve one's own position, but also to strategically undermine the opponent. Similarly, in our relationships, there are individuals with hidden motives who often treat your relationship as a strategic game. In this type of relationship, you often feel undervalued and unappreciated. The other person frequently appears competitive, not only in necessary situations, but also in normal circumstances, making you feel uneasy and tense. They not only do not listen to your opinions, but also frequently interrupt or devalue what you say. This constant competition manifests in various forms in personal relationships. This person often elevates themselves and belittles you. Even in the smallest achievements, when you accomplish something, instead of sharing joy, they become envious or attempt to diminish your achievements in a professional environment. They often use tactics like excuses, distorting the truth, or even lying to maintain their dominant position in meetings. This not only makes you less likely to believe them, but it also makes the conversation tense and unsafe. Even when you're just talking, you can tell when they're trying to show how smarter, more successful, or better they are. This behavior comes from deep-seated fear and a skewed sense of one's own worth. They judge their own worth by how well they do compared to others, not by their own accomplishments. This makes every interaction a competition where one person has to win and the other, in this case you, has to lose. This way of thinking gets in the way of shared growth in favor of looking great and special. This relationship not only lacks the support and encouragement you need, but it also has unhealthy competition that hurts your spirit and health. It creates a constantly tense environment where competition takes the place of real cooperation or support. It's important to recognize and understand this pattern of behavior because it helps us set limits and, if necessary, change the relationship to make it healthier. Part of this process is realizing that every relationship should be based on respect and mutual support, not a never-ending race to be the best. Number 4, the lack of personal interest in the details. Personal interest in getting along with others. Lack of detailed personal interest is another big red flag. This is not only a sign of indifference, but also a lack of respect and emotional connection. If someone doesn't take the time to understand and care about the little things in your life, it's likely that they see this relationship as a means to an end rather than a two-way bond. You may notice that they forget things you've told them, like your interests, dreams, or even fears. They might also forget about important days like your birthdays or anniversaries, which makes you feel not only ignored, but also worthless in their eyes. This lack of interest is also clear in how they treat your emotions. They might brush off or downplay your worries and sorrows, seeing them as bothersome or unimportant. This not only makes you feel lonely in the relationship, but can also make it a bad place where you don't feel safe. For example, if you have a friend who only cares about themselves and never asks about your life, feelings, or dreams, you may feel like you're just listening to their story and that they aren't really interested in you. This lack of interest is a clear sign that this person sees you only for what you can do for them instead of who you are. In these situations, you should ask yourself if this relationship is healthy. The lack of these things can mean that you need to rethink how important this relationship is in your life. The lack of personal interest in a relationship is a warning sign that we need to rethink our connections and look for a place where we are valued and respected. If you've made it this far, you are one of the few people who is really looking to grow as a person. Number 5. What superficial connection means and how it works. In a relationship where one person only uses you and doesn't care about you, a shallow connection is common. This sign is especially dangerous because it hides the real nature of the relationship. People who use you often avoid making a deep and meaningful connection. This kind of behavior shows up in interactions that don't go deep. This kind of connection can be with a friend who isn't interested in how you feel, or a co-worker who only contacts you when they need help. This can happen in family or romantic relationships when one person only thinks about what they can get from the other person and doesn't care about their feelings or needs. In these kinds of relationships, we can tell that there isn't any real attachment or care for the other person's feelings or well-being. People who use you often see you as a way to reach their own goals and don't care about how their actions affect you. One of the biggest problems with this kind of relationship is that it can hurt the person being used mentally and lower their self-esteem. If you constantly feel unappreciated or uncared for, you may start to doubt your own worth and feel like you can't change the situation. Getting out of this kind of relationship takes courage and self-awareness. You need to know your own worth and set clear boundaries. Remember that you deserve connections that are real and honest. Seeing the signs of a shallow relationship is the first thing you can do to protect your mind and soul. It's also a chance to look for deeper, more meaningful relationships where you can share and experience depth and exchange. It's important to understand superficial links if you want to get along with other people and build relationships. When people interact or have ties that aren't very deep or emotional, this is called a superficial connection. Most of the time, these connections are based on superficial things like looks, shared hobbies, or casual acquaintanceship. Here are some important things to think about and how superficial links work. Level 1. Interaction. Level 1 interactions, like shared hobbies, mutual friends, or common interests, are what make Level 2 connections. Most of the time, these interactions stay on the surface and don't get into deeper feelings or deep talks. Limited emotional depth. Surface-level ties aren't as deep emotionally or intimately as deeper ones. People can make small talk or do things together without really getting to know each other or knowing their thoughts, feelings, or experiences. Transient nature. Connections on the surface are often short-lived. It's possible for them to come and go without having a big effect on your life. People may keep up these links because it's easy or because they feel socially responsible, not because they are interested or emotionally invested. Social networking. People often make quick links in social settings like parties, networking events, and social media sites. In these settings, quantity is often valued over quality, which makes relationships more surface level. Limited help system. Because shallow connections don't go deep emotionally, they might not offer as much help and understanding as deeper ones. When people are in trouble or need help, they might not have a strong network of people to turn to if their ties are mostly superficial. Genuine versus superficial relationships. It's important to know the difference between genuine and superficial relationships. Real connections are based on trust, respect, and emotional closeness. On the other hand, superficial connections often lack depth and emotional involvement. Building meaningful relationships. In some social situations, casual connections can be useful, but if you want to build meaningful relationships, you need to put in time and effort into making real connections. To do this, you need to have deep talks, be open, and genuinely try to understand and connect with others on a deeper level. Knowing how superficial links work can help people handle social situations better and put more effort into building real relationships that will bring them long-term happiness and support. Number 6. Using emotions against people. One clear sign that someone is using you and doesn't care about you is that they can subtly play with your emotions. They often use your emotions as a tool to get what they want, which is clear when they put you in situations that make you feel confused, guilty, or ashamed. They know how to use words or actions to make you feel certain emotions, which makes it easy to control or change your decisions. Emotional influence can come in many forms and levels of sophistication. For example, someone may praise you too much to make you feel obligated to repay them, which they then use to demand things that are too much for you to handle. They might use the isolate and conquer approach to try to break down your relationships with other people so that you feel alone and more open to their control. Not only does emotional trickery make people lose trust and self-esteem, but it also makes them doubt their ability to judge the character of others. You might be stuck in a bad relationship and not know how to get out of it because you've been lied to and managed so much that you can't see the truth. This is common in relationships involving psychological manipulation. The manipulator always has more power than the target because they decide when to show affection and when to pull away, throwing off the target's balance. To sum up, emotional manipulation is not about mutual growth or support. Instead, it's about the manipulator only caring about meeting their own needs without thinking about the psychological well-being of others. To spot psychological manipulation, you have to be very aware of the patterns of interactions that play with your feelings all the time. To better understand how these exchanges affect you and your mood, you need to look within yourself. Number 7. Making you feel bad. In an unequal relationship where you feel used and not cared for, guilt can lead to frequent behavior. The person using this strategy is skilled at manipulating you by playing on your sense of duty, fairness, or responsibility. They may constantly complain or express disappointment about what you do or don't do, putting emotional and psychological pressure on you. They may say that you're not good enough or that you can't meet their expectations, making you feel like you're failing. They may use specific situations to make you feel guilty, like stressing how much you need their help and making it seem like a burden. They may also say things like, "After everything I've done for you, is this how you treat me?" to make you feel obligated to say yes to their requests. Finally, they may make you feel guilty about things that have nothing to do with them, like personal choices or relationships. This method works well because it takes advantage of a basic human desire to think of oneself as good, helpful, and caring. By making you feel guilty, the person using this method turns these good traits into tools to control you. As a result, you do things not because you want to, but because you feel like you have to, which can make you angry or tired. Most importantly, this attitude not only creates a bad psychological environment, but can also do deep and long-lasting damage to your mental health. You may become less confident and always feel uncertain and insecure. This can also make it harder for you to build and keep healthy relationships in the future. Recognizing when someone is using guilt to control you is extremely important for protecting your privacy and mental well-being. Identifying and dealing with this manipulation tactic plays a crucial role in building healthy relationships based on respect, genuine care, and free choice, rather than being bound by obligation and guilt. You seem to be asking for advice on how to make someone feel bad, but I want to stress that making someone else feel bad on purpose is not a good or moral thing to do. I can, however, explain why some people might want to hurt other people's feelings and how to handle such situations in a kind and positive way. Understanding why people do what they do. People may try to hurt other people because they are jealous, scared, or want power and control. They probably act the way they do because of their own problems, not because of something you did. Empathy and compassion. Showing empathy and compassion can help calm down tense circumstances. Try to see things from the other person's point of view and respect how they feel, but don't always agree with how they act. Setting limits. If someone is always trying to make you feel bad, you need to set limits. Make your limits clear and tell them calmly and firmly that their behavior is not acceptable. Taking care of yourself. Feel good about yourself. Surround yourself with positive people who will pull you up and do things that make you happy and satisfied. Communication skills. Work on your communication skills so you can say what you think and feel more clearly. You can stand up for your needs and limits without being hostile or passive if you practice assertiveness. Ask for help. If someone's behavior is really bothering you, don't be afraid to ask for help from family, friends, or a mental health expert. Talking to someone can help you see things from a different point of view and figure out how to handle the problem. Remember that making other people feel bad only makes things worse. Instead, you should work on making friends and treating others with care. Number 8. Not enough real help. Next, let's talk about the 8th factor, which is an attitude that we can see in our own relationships, not really supporting each other. You may feel like the other person doesn't care about you or want to commit to your goals. They may be there when they need something from you, but not when you need them. They may only show up when they see personal benefit in doing so. In these kinds of relationships, your goals, projects, and challenges are often met with coldness or only token acts of support. The other person may not fully support your plans, but they may wish you luck or say they support you. Cane has a lot of bad effects on your mental and emotional health. You might start to doubt your worth and think you don't deserve love. Focusing on their own self-interests makes them not support others because they see the relationship as a transaction and judge emotional involvement based on personal returns. This leads to a negative cycle of low self-esteem and a lack of trust in relationships. When one person always gives, the other person often only receives, creating an imbalance that makes the first person feel undervalued and forgotten. Realizing that the other person isn't really helping you is important for understanding the nature of your relationship with that person. To do this, you need to be honest about how much support you give and receive in your interactions. Finding and dealing with this lack of support is a key part of making sure you spend your time and energy on relationships that are caring and helpful. We all have times in our lives when we need help, advice, or support from other people, but not every kind of help is the same. When we get something, it might not fully meet our wants or expectations, which can make us unhappy or angry. The goal of this lesson is to talk about the idea of not enough real help and explain why real support is important for health and personal growth. Figuring out the issue. Help on the surface. People often offer help without fully understanding the problem or with good intentions. This kind of surface-level help might help for a short time, but it doesn't get to the root of the problem. Lack of empathy. To really help someone, you need to be able to understand and share their feelings. Help that doesn't show concern can feel cold or uncaring, making people feel misunderstood and alone. Conditional support. Some kinds of help come with conditions, like the need to repay, the favor, or being judged for not meeting certain standards. Conditional support can make people feel less confident and more obligated instead of empowered. Why real support is important. Empowerment. Real help gives people power by validating their experiences and giving them the tools and direction they need to deal with problems. It makes people more independent and strong, so they can handle problems with confidence. Emotional connect. Real help builds emotional bonds between people, which makes them trust each other and feel like they belong. It makes it safe to be vulnerable and supports honest conversation, which makes relationships stronger. Holistic problem solving. Real support looks at the whole needs of each person, addressing not only their current problems, but also the deeper issues that are making their problems worse. It encourages people to work together to solve problems and find long-term answers. Well-being and mental health. Real support is a key part of supporting well-being and mental health. It makes you feel less lonely and alone, boosts your self-esteem, and gives your life purpose and direction. Tips you can use right away to really help. Active listening. To truly understand other people's wants and needs, practice active listening. Give someone your full attention, without judging them or talking over them, so they can speak easily. Responding with empathy and kindness means recognizing and caring about other people's feelings and experiences. Allow them to feel what they're feeling and offer support and encouragement without forcing your own ideas on them. Practical assistance. Give people real help that is tailored to their specific wants. Give them useful tools, advice, or solutions to help them deal with their problems in a good way. Support without negative opinions. Make a safe space where people can ask for help, without worrying about being judged or turned down. Respect their right to be independent and make their own decisions, giving them the power to do so. In conclusion, not enough real help shows how important real support is for personal growth, endurance, and health. We can make a positive change in other people's lives and build meaningful connections by knowing the underlying causes of ineffective help and following the principles of empathy, empowerment, and holistic problem solving. Remember that real help means more than just lending a hand. It means being there for someone and walking with them through their journey. Number 9. Being ready to choose. In the complicated world of relationships, we often come across another important danger sign. It's important to be ready to choose this problem when someone can easily come to us for help, but acts strange and hard to reach when we need them. Now think about the following. You are often able to help others by responding to their different requests. This could mean being ready to listen and offer emotional support. Do little things for them or give them your time and care. But when you're weak and need help, people tend to stay quiet. They don't answer your messages, call you back, or at the very least, avoid talking about it. That's how they act in that situation. This behavior pattern makes it so that the ratio of giving to receiving is lopsided. You feel like you're walking on a one-way street where all of your care and dedication flow in one direction without any return. This pattern not only shows that they don't care about your needs and feelings, but they also do so on purpose. So being ready to choose is like a mirror that shows an uncomfortable truth. The person is only there when it does something good for them. It's like an uneven scale in a relationship when one person's wants are always ignored. Realizing this is true and facing it is a big step. The question is whether we are really in a relationship that benefits both parties or whether we are just a way for others to get what they need. This situation makes us think about our self-esteem and self-respect, which forces us to rethink our personal limits and ask ourselves if this relationship is really based on genuine reciprocity and respect for our shared values. Our paths and futures are shaped by the decisions we make in life, no matter how big or small. Every choice we make, from the small ones like what to wear or eat, to the big ones like where to go to school, what job to pursue, and who to date, shapes our lives. Being ready to choose is more than just making a choice. It takes self-reflection, courage, and a readiness to deal with the results of our actions. This lesson will talk about why it's important to be ready to make decisions and how to make choices with confidence and clarity. How to understand how important choice is. What we do determines our paths. Every choice we make puts us on a certain road that leads to a set of outcomes and effects. When we understand the power of freedom, we understand that we can make our own lives and futures. Our choices show what we value. Many of the choices we make are based on our principles, beliefs, and top priorities. Knowing our ideals helps us make decisions that are in line with who we really are and are good for our health as a whole. Choices are what make us grow and learn. We can learn and grow from our situations when we accept choice. Making a choice gives you important insights and lessons for the future, even when you don't know what to do or when you fail. Getting ready to pick. Think about yourself. You should think about your goals, desires, and values before making a decision. Think about how each choice fits with your personal values and long-term goals. Putting together information, find the right facts and points of view to help you make your choice. Talk to people you trust, do some study, and think about what might happen if you choose each option. Looking at the pros and cons, you should think about the risks and benefits of each option. Think about the chances of success as well as the short and long-term effects. Making the choice. Believe in your gut. It's important to do research and think about a lot of different things, but follow your gut. When making choices, pay attention to your gut and your inner voice. Accept uncertainty. Know that having doubts is a normal part of making choices. Focus on making the best choice you can with the knowledge you have instead of trying to find absolute truth. Claim yourself. Take responsibility for what you choose once you've made it. Take responsibility for what happens, whether it ends well or badly. Being ready to choose takes more than just making a choice. It takes knowing yourself, getting ready, and having the courage to make the choice. We can handle life's challenges with confidence and clarity if we understand how important choices are in shaping our lives and make choices with purpose and mindfulness. Remember that every decision we make is a chance to learn, grow, and improve ourselves. Don't be afraid of the power of freedom. Use it to make the life you want. Number 10. Not being there at important times. Finally, if you're in a relationship where you're just a means to an end for someone else, their silence at important times in your life is a clear sign. This is especially clear when they're not there when you need someone to share the joy of a success or seek comfort during a hard time. Celebrating a special event or getting through a tough time in your life requires the support and presence of loved ones. Imagine you are going through one of those tough times and expecting support and empathy from a friend or partner whom you consider to be a friend. Instead, you find a void. That person is conspicuously absent, offering only surface comfort or generic words that seem more like a formality than a genuine gesture of empathy. They might be busy with work or other relationships, but they never make time for you when you need them the most. This shows that they don't respect you and that you are not important to them. Their constant absence also shows a painful truth. Individual benefits are more important than genuine care in this relationship. When you need support, they aren't there, but when they need something from you, they suddenly show up with a list of demands and expectations. This creates a transactional pattern where you feel used and undervalued, going through important moments without their support and presence. Over time, you can clearly sense the lack of a genuine and profound connection, which can lead to a loss of trust. Recognizing and dealing with situations where other people don't care about your interests is important for your mental health. Learning how to handle these problems helps us build and keep healthy relationships based on mutual respect, empathy, and good communication. When we meet people who only see us as tools for their own purposes, it hurts the most to realize that we are just shadows in their lives. But don't forget that your worth doesn't depend on how others treat you. It comes from within and is shown by how you act when you don't feel respected or cared for. The 10 attitudes of a person who only uses you and doesn't care about you are both a wake-up call and an encouragement to stand strong. If our stories make you feel strong and empathetic, please like and share this video. Together, let's spread the word of love and respect and build a strong community where everyone knows how to stand strong when life gets tough. Leave a comment below the video to share your thoughts with us today. Remember that the key to healthy and meaningful relationships is recognizing your needs, meeting them, and most importantly, respecting yourself and others. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos where we talk about building honest and lasting relationships.